UFC Fight Night Des Moines, Iowa, Sandhagen versus Figueiredo just took place, and I'm going to go through the entire card, starting with the early prelims, ending with the main event, giving my reaction and breakdown to every single fight on the card, and I may have had my worst night of predictions in a very long time. We really did not do good, and I'm going to get to Bo Nickal as soon as I possibly can in this video, okay? I'm going to go through the rest of the card where not a lot happened. But believe me, we're going to get to what Bo Nickal just did in the co-main event. Or what Reinier De Ridder just did to Bo Nickal. Because, my God, I thought Bo Nickal would get fraud checked. This is the first time I'm just breaking the system. I thought Bo Nickal would get fraud checked. But I thought it would happen like against a top guy. You know? De Ridder might be a top guy now. He's a monster for real, so... But I thought he'd have a bit of something to his game. But apparently not. Juliana Miller versus Ivana Petrovic. Juliana Miller wins the fight. 4-3, Juliana Miller wins a fight in the UFC against Ivana Petrovic. Just out-wrestles her. Very, very dull and boring fight. She's crying by the end of the decision. Very, very dull and boring fight. Absolutely nothing going on in that fight whatsoever. I can't believe Ivana Petrovic lost to Juliana Miller in 2025. That's absolutely embarrassing. Cut them both. We move on. Thomas Petersen versus Dontel Mays. I picked Dontel Mays. Thomas Petersen's a better grappler than Shamil Gaziev is what we found out. He just toppled over Dontel Mays a bunch, and despite all these years in the UFC and being 6'6" and athletic and having a crazy long reach, Dontel Mays isn't training for MMA, and Thomas Petersen takes him down, runs a clinic on him in takedowns, doesn't really do too much in terms of damage, but keeps somewhat busy. Thomas Petersen wins a fight. We move on. Gaston Bolanos versus Quang. Quang gets his takedowns off. Everybody's getting their takedowns off. But one guy in the co-main event. It's all good. Quang gets his takedowns off on Gaston Bolanos, who does all right in moments, but he's very slow, and Quang just kept getting takedowns, eventually choking out Gaston Bolanos in the second round with a rear naked choke, and actually sleeps him out cold with the rear naked choke as well. It was a very brutal looking rear naked choke finish for Quang in the second round, and I'm 0-3 already on the card. Then it was time for my big underdog, Marina Rodriguez against Gillian Robertson. I picked Marina Rodriguez, but Gillian Robertson makes easier work of Marina Rodriguez once she gets dominant position than Mackenzie Dern and Verna Jandiroba. Gillian Robertson's grappling is a problem in the women's strawweight division. Now, we've seen people stuff the takedowns, but Marina Rodriguez just couldn't do it to save her life, had nothing to offer on the feet whatsoever. I don't know if it's a case of her best days being behind her. She retired. No one cares. But Gillian Robertson gets the takedown early. Marina Rodriguez just survives. Not a lot happens in that fight whatsoever. Gets the takedown in the second round as well. Marina Rodriguez pulls a guillotine. Losing the takedown, of course, by pulling a guillotine. And then Gillian Robertson wins the fight. Wins the fight by TKO to ground and pound in round 2. I honestly think if you would have let Gillian Robertson keep going, I think Marina Rodriguez genuinely could have taken another 100 significant strikes before anything happened. But she just couldn't move from the position. So Marina Rodriguez TKO'd in the second round. We move on. Ryan Loder versus Azamat Bekoev. I went with Azamat Bekoev. Yeah! I got a pick correct on the prelims. And he pieced up Ryan Loder in this fight. Ryan Loder spamming takedowns, couldn't get them. But the thing is, he has a USA wrestling background. Ryan Loder spamming takedowns, couldn't get them at all. Azamat Bekoev throws him off, makes him look silly, and then just pieces him up on the feet. And Ryan Loder had no answer on the feet whatsoever. Threw a couple of strikes back, but Azamat Bekoev was on him, pressuring him, throwing in volume, teeing off, shrugging off takedowns again, getting back to it, wobbling Ryan Loder with uppercuts and hooks. And just put an absolute whooping on Ryan Loder in the first round, getting the first round TKO win. Azamat Bekoev, first round TKO. We move on. Yana Santos versus Miesha Tate. Miesha Tate, American wrestling background, couldn't get any takedowns, but won in the third round. Won the third round, of course. But in the first 2 rounds, she set a really good pace in the first. but then just couldn't keep it up, and Yana Santos just ended out damaging her in the end of the first round, in the clinch, on the feet, and then in round 2, Yana Santos was just beating her up on the feet, and Miesha Tate loses in that fight, gets the 3rd round takedown. I picked her to win, because Yana Santos is terrible as well, but Miesha Tate had nothing in that fight until the 3rd round, and then it was too late. We move on. Jeremy Stephens versus Mason Jones. Now, this was the only good fight of the card, in terms of like a competitive match between two fighters. Jeremy Stephens brought it in this fight, but Mason Jones, I actually gave him the 2nd round over Jeremy Stephens. He was a lot slicker than Jeremy Stephens in the 1st round. Both guys were going for their low kicks back and forth. Mason Jones had really good kicks to the body and really good punches and weaving out the way of Stephens' overhands and landing back with his own good shots and following up with volume and peppering the jab and going in with combos on Jeremy Stephens in the 1st round, ending with a takedown as well, just to show that he could get it to Stephens as well. But he traded on the feet with Jeremy Stephens in that 1st round. And Stephens landed good shots, but Mason Jones was too slick. He was landing a couple wheel kicks out there. He was looking for a highlight reel in his return to the UFC, but Stephens toughed it out, gave us a scrap. Round 2, he bounces back. I still gave the round to Mason Jones slightly, but Jeremy Stephens could have won the round. But Mason Jones landed spinning elbows. I don't know how Stephens was still standing after that. But maybe Jeremy Stephens wins the 2nd round because he actually hurt Mason Jones a little bit. Like, he landed a shot that definitely got Mason Jones' attention. And maybe that would give him the round because he was landing his overhands a little bit more. Mason Jones was getting a little bit sloppy in terms of his head movement, but he was still doing really good that round. Like, he was winning the majority of the round, but Stephens had a moment where it was like, oh, Mason Jones felt that big punch. But he was piecing up Stephens with volume, low kicks, body kicks, some spinning kicks in there as well. Jump knee attempts, elbows he was going for, working him up against the cage with volume. But Stephens was in there and they were trading back and forth. And it was a 6-second round, back and forth fight. Both guys going at each other. Stephens has got blood all over his face. Mason Jones got swelling on his eye and his nose and all sorts. And round 3, Mason Jones just basically says, this is too damn risky. I'm just going to do what I could have done in the 1st and 2nd round. Now, it wasn't the most entertaining, but when compared to the rest of this card, the 3rd round was fucking fine in hindsight. Honestly, it was. It was absolutely fine in hindsight. He took down Stephens a bunch, worked to grapple him, ragdolled him. He could have done that in rounds 1 and 2, but he didn't. Because I guess he wanted the scrap, he wanted the brawl, he wanted a big TKO win in his debut, probably looking for like a performance bonus, and I don't think he thought he was going to get it if he just got a submission win. But he ended up most likely getting fight of the night here because that was a great scrap, and Mason Jones gets the win. 3rd round, went right back to the grappling, which he could have done from the start, but he saved it until he needed it basically, and just ragdolled Stephens in the 3rd round, picked him up whenever he wanted and dunked him. But Stephens stayed good and he kept it from getting mounted, and Mason Jones was on his back quite a bit. Even in the 1st round, he had Stephens' back, but Stephens stayed in there. Great scrap in the first 2 rounds, but Mason Jones wins the fight. Very good win from him. A pick I got correct. Yeah! Cameron Smotherman versus Serhi Sidey. I picked Cameron Smotherman to win as the fight went on, and he did. I thought he could have won the 3rd round. He was actually landing really good shots in the 3rd round to the body and head of Serhi Sidey and throwing in combination as well. So I actually thought he had a pretty decent 3rd round for himself, but first 2 rounds, Serhi Sidey, too rangy, too powerful. He slowed down in his last 2 fights that he had in the UFC, but he didn't slow down as much this time because I guess there was no offense in terms of the grappling coming his way. So he didn't have to stuff anything. He didn't have to defend anything and work to get back up with his tall frame. So he was able to dictate the pace with his own takedowns in the fight. He even nearly had a dash choke in the 3rd, which could throw the 3rd round into some question, but I thought Smotherman was piecing him up on the feet quite a bit. Round 1 and 2, though, Serhi Sidey too rangy. Round 2, he ran a bit of a grappling game on Smotherman, who kept getting back up, but just too much from Serhi Sidey in terms of the volume of grappling, so Serhi Sidey wins 2 rounds to 1. I want to get to this Bo Nickal fight. Montel Jackson versus Daniel Marcos. I went with Montel Jackson. I thought this was a no-brainer. He's a lot better than Daniel Marcos. Marcos actually had a good 1st round. I thought Montel Jackson still could have won the 1st round, but Marcos actually landed some decent punches on the feet early in the round. So I gave it to Marcos in the 1st round. He ended with a takedown as well. And it was like a big motivating factor for him, which is probably why he chose to fight the way he did in the 2nd and 3rd round. He thought he could get the takedown again. But he ended up just trying to stall Montel Jackson against the cage in the second and third round. Another very, very boring fight. Full of them, this card. And Montel Jackson started to tee off in the second with his jab and his two. Really started putting together some combos in the third round. Actually had Marcos a little bit hurt at the start of the third, but Marcos ended up stalling up against the cage against him. Montel Jackson even got a few takedowns. Nearly had a Darce choke that he couldn't quite get. But yeah, great win from Montel Jackson. He could arguably win every single round, but it was a very, very dull performance. So not the type of fight he needs to get himself a big jump up in the rankings. Terrible performance from Daniel Marcos. He didn't want to scrap. He didn't want to fight at all. We move on. Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Daniel Rodriguez. I picked Ponzinibbio to win. I picked Ponzinibbio to win by second and third round decision. I thought eventually he would pick the volume up and his conditioning would be better than D-Rod, and he would mix in takedowns and maybe get some and fail him, but make D-Rod work. In round one, Santiago and D-Rod were doing their thing. Both guys landing shots. No one was really clearly leading the dance. I thought Ponzinibbio was landing better low kicks, but D-Rod was landing his jab quite a bit. And going to the body with punches as well. So I was giving the first round to D-Rod, or maybe have it close. And then Ponzinibbio gets rocked after slipping. Really bad moment for him in the first round. He slips on his ass, gets back up, and gets rocked by D-Rod badly. Survives the first round, though, after D-Rod pours it on. Round two, I actually thought Ponzinibbio had a really good round. I thought he had a really good round two. Was feinting in with his lead hand and popping the right hand down the pipe. And was landing it quite a bit. Not clean. Not enough to snap the head back of D-Rod or cause any kind of damage. But he was popping him with a straight right hand. And landing good low kicks and body kicks. Even got a takedown at the end of the round. So I thought it was a very clear second round for Santiago Ponzinibbio. And D-Rod's output massively went down. So he stopped throwing as much. He definitely stopped landing as much. He really didn't have any big moments in the second round. Was stuffed a couple takedowns, but he started to look like he was slowing down. And I was like, oh, this is where Ponzinibbio is going to be crafty and mix it up and get the third. Ponzinibbio starts the third well, going for his low kicks, popping his right hand, moving around pretty well. And then D-Rod just tunes him up with like a 4-punch wild combo from the hips, swinging his arms out there, looking for a KO, and catches Ponzinibbio on the chin, follows up, puts him out on the ground. Nasty win from D-Rod. And, yeah, I had it 1-1 going into the third. I thought Ponzinibbio was building momentum, and even had a good start to the third round, but D-Rod puts him away by TKO in the third. I'm wrong again. We move on. Reinier De Ridder versus Bo Nickal. Here we go. Reinier De Ridder versus Bo Nickal. Now, for a long time building up to this, I was saying Reinier De Ridder's going to win this fight. Then I watched back like some fights of Reinier De Ridder at 1FC and Reinier De Ridder against Gerald Miesha, and I was thinking to myself, man, he's so sloppy. Now, I should have learned from DDP's success. That don't mean a damn thing, okay? But I was thinking to myself, well, at least Bo Nickal's like an efficient athlete, and he's fast and athletic, and he scrambles well. I was like, dude, I believed in the wrestling. I didn't believe it was going to take him to the top. I always thought Bo Nickal was, even if he won this fight the way I thought he would, I always thought Bo Nickal was going to get fraud checked by a top contender. I think Cannonier would beat him, Baralho, Mavov, any of the top contenders, Whitaker, all of these guys, Chimaev, Adesanya, I thought they would all beat him. But Reinier De Ridder was so sloppy against Miesha, I thought, Bo Nickal's better than Miesha, right? That's what I thought. Bo Nickal's kind of better than Miesha, especially when it comes to like being able to scramble and get out from bottom position, right? Maybe not submissions in the UFC. Striking, I thought, well, Miesha's just got a body kick and a very slow 1-2. Bo Nickal will be able to do something, right? He'll be able to do something on the feet. He'll have some fast hands and some good scrambles to avoid ever ending up on bottom position. I thought, good luck, De Ridder's getting Bo Nickal on bottom position. Ain't going to happen. The fight went as follows. He got fraud checked, first of all. Absolutely destroyed. Shout out to Reinier De Ridder. Nasty TKO with a knee. Round one, Bo Nickal, we're in the clinch immediately, okay? De Ridder actually throws a knee early, but I don't know if it lands clean or not, and Bo lands a shot, and then we're in the clinch. Immediately in the fight, we're in the clinch. And De Ridder's holding him up against the cage. Bo Nickal turns it around, a good little strength moment for him. But De Ridder's working him in the cage, and this is probably what caught up to Bo throughout the fight. De Ridder's kneeing him to the body and punching him in the body over and over again in the first round. He landed 104 total strikes in the round and 2 minutes that they were in that fight for. So he's tapping him to the body with these kicks and they didn't seem like a big deal. But they were pestering Bo and he was winning the moments because of it. Then Ridder went for a throw and Bo Nickal reversed him and ended up on top with a takedown. I'm like, okay, full guard on top for Bo. Good luck getting back up from this one, Reinier De Ridder. Reinier De Ridder starts to scramble and Bo gets a guillotine. Immediately pulls it to bottom position. Gives up position completely against Reinier De Ridder. Jumping this guillotine, which is insane to do against Reinier De Ridder, by the way, who scrambles over it and ends up on top. For the last 2 minutes of round 1, Bo Nickal can't move from bottom position against Reinier De Ridder. Ridder didn't have mount, he didn't have the back, he had full guard on top, Bo Nickal even had butterfly hook, and he couldn't move from bottom position against Reinier De Ridder. One of the best US wrestling prospects in the sport. The best wrestling prospects from the US that's in the sport right now. All of the credentials you can think of. Been training MMA for a while. Boxed as a kid. You know, the wrestling. He started wrestling at 4. He had so many matches in wrestling by the time he was 8 years old. And I'm thinking, okay, he's going to be able to do something. He just got held down at the end of the first. And immediately when I was seeing that, I was thinking, okay, even if Bo changes this in the second round, after pulling that guillotine, if something changes here and he wins somehow still, Chimaev will destroy him. Because you will not see a Makhachev or Chimaev or any of these guys from the Caucasus or even a good grappler from like another part of the world. You won't see them on bottom position getting held down like that. They just will not allow it to happen. That will not happen. Anthony Hernandez even, who hasn't got the credentials of Bo, but, you know, he's an American and he wrestles and he won't allow himself in that position for that long. And Reinier De Ridder just held him down and Bo Nickal had nothing for him. No get-ups, no scrambles, no athleticism. Round 2 comes around. Now, here's where it gets really interesting because Reinier De Ridder didn't actually get a takedown in this fight. No, he did. He did get a takedown, but I guess they didn't score it because Bo got right back up. That's probably what it was. But in the second round, they're scrapping on the feet. De Ridder's getting the better of it. Bo lands a low kick or something. And De Ridder's just pressuring him in the second round. And let me tell you this. It was a sign of adversity. And immediately Bo Nickal is wincing in pain and shying away from combat. Immediately he is. Reinier De Ridder's landing teeps at range. I think he landed like a couple punches to the body in the clinch earlier that round and some knees. Holding Bo Nickal up against the cage. And he's winning the moments in the clinch and kneeing him to the body quite a few times. And Bo's getting like... in the clinch, he shakes De Ridder off and actually goes for a body lock and gets the body of Reinier De Ridder. He gets his hands around the waist of Reinier De Ridder and gets a body lock and doesn't get a takedown from it. Like, he has the body lock of Reinier De Ridder. He can take this guy down. But I swear to God, I'm going to say this take, and I might do a whole video on Bo Nickal tomorrow. He was scared to be proven that his wrestling wasn't good enough. Straight up. He was scared. Bo Nickal was terrified to try and wrestle in case it was proven to not be good enough. We've seen this so much with American wrestlers in MMA. Covington, even Usman in moments as well, but when they fought each other especially. We see this so much in MMA with American wrestlers. They won't even try and wrestle sometimes. Because they're worried. Like, oh, if I don't get it, it's going to look really bad for me. They have this ego and pride around their grappling ability. And they don't want it debunked, I feel like. And that's what Bo Nickal did in there. Doesn't get the takedown in the second. And when I tell you, when Ridder got him up against that cage again and he didn't get the takedown, Bo Nickal quit right then. Right then and there, Bo Nickal quit in that fight. Before the big knee that finished him, before any of that, he absolutely melted and quit in the clinch. And it wasn't even from big shots. Couple knees in the clinch from Reinier De Ridder. And don't get me wrong, they're nasty and you know what it's like to get kneed in the body. So many fighters go through that and we see 5 rounds of it and they don't break like that, Bo. I've seen guys get held against a cage by decision and all they've had done to them is have like knees to the body and the legs and punches to that position as well. They don't wince and quit to that. Prelim guys, unranked guys, this will happen in every single fighter's career where they spend a round sometimes held against the cage and having knees to the body and punches to the body. It's almost seen as a stalling position. De Ridder's knees were good though. There was some sting in them. Don't get me wrong, but Bo Nickal was wincing already in the second round. Couple punches as well in that position, and Bo Nickal's face literally goes like this. Ah, God, I guess I've lost. He actually looked like that in the second round. God, I guess I'm kind of done. I don't like this. I'm feeling pain in the octagon. And then Bo Nickal gets hit with a big flush knee. I think De Ridder was thinking he's going to panic shoot, but he doesn't. Bo Nickal didn't even panic shoot. He's losing. He's being TKO'd. He doesn't even shoot out of instinct to a double leg in the open or anything. The wrestling accolades he has. US wrestling is... I didn't think it'd lose to De Ridder. I knew it would lose. I didn't think it'd lose to De Ridder. US wrestling is the worst base for combat sports. It is the worst base for mixed martial arts in present day. I would rather a goofy jiu-jitsu guy who picked up striking like Reinier De Ridder, went through ONE FC. I know he had a lot of credentials there. I disregarded them because they were all 40-year-old men. But some of them were like some young guys that went on to lose 4 fights in a row afterwards. All were very small. So I discounted a lot of his ONE FC wins because I was like, well, they're not good and they're not in their prime and they're not, they're not real wins. If you look at a lot of them, there's like a 40-year-old Galvao in there and there's a lot of stuff going on over there. But he still had like credentials and experience, I guess. And he could take a beating, But man, US wrestling is genuinely the worst base for MMA. I would rather a striker from the UK. I really would. That's what it's and I never thought it would ever come to saying it that clear. But I said it before. I wish I would have picked Bo. I got in my head because I watched a Miesha fight and I was like, dude, Bo moves better than Miesha. Miesha wouldn't pick apart Paul Craig like that on the feet. Not pick apart, but he wouldn't stay risk adverse and not get hit by anything and, land shots and be in and out and move like that in the fight. So I was thinking, well, if Miesha can have him in these positions, Bo's going to have him in these positions. And Bo will win. He'll do what Miesha nearly did and pick it up and win. But De Ridder's found a home for himself in the UFC. Seems more composed than ever out there. But I genuinely take, at this point, I take a guy from Manchester who's a kickboxer that's picked up wrestling defense for the past 2 years or 3 years. Got into MMA. I'd take him over Bo Nickal. I really would. No doubt about it anymore. US wrestling is absolutely obsolete. Adapt or die. You're not a part of combat sports anymore. I'm going to do a whole video on it, I guess. I wish I would have picked Bo Nickal, man. I wish I would have picked Reinier De Ridder, dude. It would have been such a gotcha moment. And I had him the whole build-up, and then I watched fights. I got to stop watching and actually studying fights. Because that's when I've been wrong. Every time I spend time researching a card, instead of just going what I think's going to happen, and I think this, I should just go off of gut instinct. I keep trying to watch tape and being like, Miesha's lunging in with a bad overhand and just stinging Reinier De Ridder and shucking him off in takedown defense and clearing him against the cage and not getting held up against the cage and landing kicks at range and having De Ridder flip over and end up on bottom and taking a whole round off him with top control. And I'm thinking, well, look how bad. Look how bad. But no. I should have just gone with De Ridder. I should have gone with my gut. And Bo Nickal's gut. Dude, his body, you can't. He got folded, man, by Reinier De Ridder. Bad look. Reinier De Ridder wins. Great call out on the mic. New star is made. The next Duplessis. People are saying. Reinier De Ridder's legit. 20-2. I don't want to take away from his win, but you have to admit that was more Bo just not having an aspect to his game at all. Even the part of your game that was supposed to be good is not effective for you. And you know what I'm going to say? I'm going to add on to this, but I do want to save some shit for tomorrow's video. I'm telling you this right now. I don't know a middleweight that Bo Nickal beats on the roster. That he hasn't fought already. I think... I genuinely don't know. I think Zachary Reese could beat him. I'm looking down at these names. I don't know if he beats Tresean Gore. Teleo beats the shit out of him. And these are bottom level names at middleweight. Jorgen Santos, maybe he could win. Maybe. And that's a maybe. I didn't think this is where we'd be, but this is where we are. Robert Valentin, maybe. Maybe. Give him Torres Finney. Like, genuinely give him Torres Finney. There's no other way to go about this. Give him Torres Finney and see what happens. I don't know what middleweight he could possibly be. Crazy. Great win from Reinier De Ridder, though. Nasty TKO. He's going to be a ton of hype. I hope he stays active. I don't think he'll get the Strickland fight. They'll save that to have Adesanya's legacy go better if he could win it. But, yeah. I don't know, man. I thought a little better of Bo Nickal. I didn't think he'd ever be a top guy. I thought a tad bit better than that. Book like I wouldn't mind a Reinier De Ridder, Anthony Hernandez, a Roman Dolidze, a Cannonier. Probably a Cannonier is most likely what they could do next with him. We move on. Cory Sandhagen versus Deiveson Figueiredo. I went with Cory Sandhagen by TKO. But even this, dude, the ones I got right. Montel Jackson. I felt bad about it. Mason Jones. Yeah, it should have happened that way. You know, that's obvious. All of the fights. Bekoev. You know, he could have lost, but, you know, he won. Is that it? Is that all I got right on the card? Jesus Christ. You know, have some stinkers now and then. Cory Sandhagen wins, but I didn't feel good about it. The odds were so crazy in the build-up, and I thought, listen, Figueiredo's a top-level guy. Cory should be like a 2-1, 3-1 favorite. A 5-1 favorite, to me, was crazy odds, and I was going into this saying the odds makers know something we don't. And, apparently, they knew Figueiredo was going to lay on bottom position, pulling leg locks. That ain't going to work. They don't work in modern-day MMA. Leg locks are obsolete in MMA. And Cory Sandhagen would just beat the shit out of him. And not just that. Cory Sandhagen stopped the leg locks, rained down shots of ground and pound on Deiveson Figueiredo. And Figueiredo let it happen. I swear to God, he just let it happen to him. Oh, you know, he needs to scramble up to his feet. He's getting hit hard. 10-8 round in the first round, maybe. On the borderline, at least. And Figgy's going for a leg again. Get up, strike a bit, try and throw some punches. He didn't do anything good in this fight. He landed a couple of decent shots on the feet, like 2 strikes with punches that he landed on Sandhagen and a couple low kicks. But he had nothing for Sandhagen. He had nothing at all. Diving for legs, laying on bottom, and just accepting defeat in this fight. Let's call it what it is. He accepted a loss. What are you doing on bottom position, rolling around for legs? I swear the odds makers must have known he was injured with something, and that's how it ended. You know, he was in a bad position, going for a leg again in round 2 after he just got 10-8'd going for it in round 1. Straight back to the leg lock attempts and just failing it and getting beaten up. And he gets his leg tangled up in Sandhagen's legs, and then he snaps his ACL in that position and loses by TKO and taps. Really weird trash card overall. Bo Nickal getting fraud checked was the highlight. I wish I would have picked it to happen. But man, Sandhagen Figueiredo, weird way to end it. It almost felt like Figueiredo went out there just for a paycheck. Sandhagen's very good, and you know what? I'll pick Sandhagen to probably beat some top guys, you know. I could see him beating Marab. I can see him beating top-level guys. But yeah, Figueiredo, man, he had nothing. And Bo Nickal had nothing. Nothing. De Ridder gets stung. He gets hurt. He gets wobbled. He has to come back. He goes through some heat. In a lot of his fights, other than the Kevin Holland one, in a lot of De Ridder's fights, there's trouble, there's problem, there's pandemonium, there's craziness. He's thrown himself on bottom position again. He's on the ground. He fell off the back and someone's on top out scrambling him. And he has to recover and come back in round 3 against a 38-year-old at 1FC. And I thought, dude, if Bo Nickal he has talent, you know? But no durability, no grit, no toughness, no talent, no. It's not just a fraud check, as in he won't be, he's got fraud checked for now. I'd retire. I'd genuinely retire if I was Bo. So we'll see what happens. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Toodle Pip. I'll see you later. I genuinely consider retirement right now if I was Bo. I don't know what's next for him. See ya. Goodbye.